didn't even introduce yourself.
I didn't even introduce myself. Wow, I knew going in.
We have to learn how to love kids.
I really learned myself.
85% of our calls are EMS.
And that's not only for police, but, you know, it is for firefighters and 911 telecommunicators.
Our last guest is going to be a great show today.
Mm-hmm.
God said, come as you are, right?
You gotta go down memory lane. Oh, man. No, that was really cool.
Great conversation, you guys. Wow.
You know it feels so good.
All right, good morning, Joy 1340 AM listeners. My name is Officer Ralph McClain. I am with the Milwaukee Police Department. I am with the Office of Community Relations, Engagement, and Recruitment, and I am here with my co-hosts.
Sir, my name is Jordan Dickerson. I am one of the recruiters with the City of Milwaukee Fire and Police Commission, and we are back with episode 29 of The Conversation.
Yes, sir. Glad to be back in the building. It's getting hot.
It's getting hot outside.
Yeah, it's getting hot. I love the 90 days stretches though, with all the consecutive 90-degree weather.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people have health issues and everything, so
Make sure you drink your water.
Yeah, stay hydrated. Definitely. But yeah, me personally, I
love it.
Yeah,
I like somewhere in between. You know, I don't need the high 95s and stuff, but a cool little 75, 80. I'm cool with that.
Not 102.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So we are back again, and we're glad to be here back in the studio. We have a very special guest today in the studio, Mr. Adam Procell. We'll get to him in just a second. But as we do each week, listeners, we like to let everyone know out there that the Milwaukee Police Department is hiring, and the application is posted on the City of Milwaukee Jobs website. If you have always thought what it would be like to get up each and every morning, or in the case of when you first start your job, each evening or each night, and go out here and serve and protect this great city of ours, please go to the city website and fill out the application. It is posted on there 11 months out of the year. We do prep sessions at the training academy, so we walk you through each step of the process.
Yes, and if you ever have any questions, you can always feel free to text us at this number right here. It's 414-519-6190. Again, that's 414-519-6190. Just feel free to text us any questions that you may have about what the process looks like. Like Ralph mentioned, we do offer prep sessions where we walk you through each step of the way. So there's no way, we don't want you to come in and have any fear and anxiety about what this process looks like. We want to be as transparent as possible and provide you with as much resources as possible to help you succeed throughout this process.
And Jordan, you may want to also mention briefly that I think our brothers and sisters in red also are hiring, as well as 911.
That is true. Yep, that great point right there. If you are interested in, let's say, the firefighter side of things, we are accepting applications. The deadline actually to apply though is July 21st, so it's in a couple of days. So if you want to put in your application, definitely do that. And also, we are hiring for 911 telecommunicators. It's so important to see, we talked about this on our last episode, how every job is important. Like, we all work together in some aspect. Like, you have the fire, but you also have police, and you have the 911 telecommunications. And without all of you guys working together, we won't be able to have a protected and safe city. So if police isn't the route for you, think about fire. If fire isn't the route for you, think about 911 telecommunicator, and just, put in an application. Like I said, you can always text that number if you have any questions.
There's no better feeling than getting out here and serving the community and serving your city. We appreciate that. So now, excuse me, this brother here who we have in the studio, I'm going to take a drink of water. Right?
All right, it's all good. Now, I would do want to say I'm excited. I'm really excited about this episode. Sometimes, I don't know if you get this feeling, but it's like you feel it in your spirit that this episode is like it's meant to happen.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to be a good episode. So I'm really excited about this one.
Absolutely. So back in 2020, the year of COVID, during the pandemic, we got sent out of the training academy to the various district stations, and I was assigned to District 5, and we had an opportunity to go out to the House of Corrections, I believe, out in Franklin, and to talk with those to inmates that were about to re-enter
Okay.
back into society. And this gentleman sitting across from us facilitated the program. And my first thinking was like, man, this guy's he's pretty young, he's pretty sharp and everything, and the things that he was talking about, and getting them to try to renegotiate the contract they have with themselves about how they feel about themselves and life, outside of the jail. It was just, it was touching, and I said, wow. But you kind of think, okay, well, man, he prepares himself for that moment, and you're thinking, well, maybe he rehearsed it and he just got it down pat. And then since 2020, had the opportunity many times to see this brother also in other spaces, doing the same thing over and over again in our conversations. He also was kind enough to come to the Citizens Academy, to the Police Academy, to do the Citizens Academy, but just seeing him and how he operates, I'm like, no, he's the real deal. Someone that cares, someone that's trying to get others to, as I said, renegotiate the contract they have, with themselves, for the betterment of themselves and the community as a whole. So Mr. Adam Procell here, via a life sentence handed down 3 days after his 15th birthday, 3 days after his 15th birthday, found himself on the wrong side of the tracks and would spend nearly a quarter century behind bars. He would later renounce his gang affiliation and publish Autonomizing the Gang Culture, and work tirelessly to keep kids from joining gangs. He is now a director at Partners at Hope, a faith-based prisoner reintegration organization. He is also co-founder of Paradigm Shift, a strategic reentry consulting firm, and is currently working to de-silo Milwaukee's many reentry services via a shared reentry resource model called Home to Stay. He is also an adjunct instructor at Marquette University, hoping to influence the next generation of change makers. Listeners, we are honored to have inside the studio this morning Mr. Adam Procell. How you doing, sir?
I'm blessed. Good morning.
That's good. I love to hear that.
Yes.
Now, honestly, I just kind of there's so many different aspects that I want to touch. So I really just want to dive into it, just head on, and let's get into the conversation, right? So 15 years old, getting a life sentence. Talk about how was that? How's that? What was the feeling like?
That's a tough question
Yeah.
to answer in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
It felt, in hindsight, necessary, as it is to say that, because I was lost at that point. And so, terrifying is another word, because I was 5 foot, 100 pounds. I couldn't barely fight myself out of a wet paper bag, much less some hardened criminals that are twice my size and age, in both physical stature and knowledge.
Yeah. Up to the period of that time, you were 15. When you were a kid, the friends that you hang around, was it, in other words, the friends that you hang around, was that something that you would say you chose to do? You didn't, because there are many things that you can do when you're like a teen and when you're a kid. You can go outside, you hoop, you can, skateboard, you can get involved in many activities. What led you to this point here? Like, how was that? Was it hanging around that crew, or?
And then like they got influence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was it kind of bad influences, or?
Yeah, there's a phrase, your associations determine your destinations, and it's very appropriate in my case. And the association wasn't for a long, extended period of time, because growing up in a different state, I was actually a very good kid, honor student, Boy Scout, member of the Young Astronauts program, never skipped a day of school in my life. And in '94, I moved to Milwaukee to the South Side, and we always hear that phrase back in dare class, marijuana is the gateway drug. Well, that same philosophy can apply to friends as well. You can have a gateway friend.
Wow.
And I met one kid at Walker Middle School And nobody wants to sit alone at the lunch table. And I gravitated towards him. He wasn't a bad kid. He was a graffiti artist, but he had friends that kind of became my friends by association. They were gang members. So in a matter of months, I went from being this really good kid, not wanting to be alone, then hanging around, becoming a gang member, and then being sentenced to a life sentence in prison, where I realized the loneliest place on the face of this earth is an overcrowded prison. And so that's where I found true loneliness.
That's crazy. Now, we usually actually get the beginning, right? So you're not originally from Milwaukee?
I'm not, no.
Where are you originally from?
Colorado, so diehard Denver Broncos.
Okay.
Russell Wilson for setting this back.
Oh, man. And so how long were you in Denver for?
I grew up there, and I moved out here at the age of 14.
Okay, cool. And then so you said once you moved out here is like kind of when that shift in the sense of you being you said you were an honor student, just a great kid, and you just kind of fell into the wrong crowd, the wrong influence and people. Kind of happened when you came to Milwaukee in a sense, right?
Yeah, because I grew up and went to school on a military base, so all those things that we previously talked about sort of made me popular. And then moving out here to the public school setting, all those things kind of made me a social outcast.
Gotcha.
And I was like, well, I don't like this feeling, so let me push all that stuff that's going to benefit my future as far away from me as possible, and subscribe to the culture of the public school system. So I was kind of like a chameleon and looking for that validation of social status.
Right.
Along that time, did you ever? Was there ever a moment where you were like, I need to turn this around. I need to, peel back a little bit from these people that I'm hanging around, because this is going to lead to some trouble? Or was it you were just kind of like, no, this is
Deep
where
in.
I'm at. Yeah, I'm in now, and this is the culture, and I'm just going to, dive in.
No, there was a point where, so I got violated into the gang, more out of curiosity, kind of killed the cat sort of philosophy, and I was a gang member for, a few months, and realized it's not all it's cracked up to be, didn't really like it, actually got violated out of the gang. And it's kind of weird to describe because South Side and North Side had different sects of the same gang, and as fate would have it, so technically I'm out. A gang that I was a part of, they had another branch, I guess you can look at it, moved back onto the South Side, didn't know that I got violated from the sect that I was already in, saw me, and said, hey, where you been? Not in a negative sense,
Right.
but just like glad to see me, and I was too afraid at 14 because I've seen some extremely violent things happen and come from these individuals. No excuse, I should have had the strength, so no way am I pointing a finger or blaming anyone else other than myself. But they're like, he had a bag of spray paint. He's like, man, can you come back? Because I always had an art background. Can you spray paint our logo on this wall here? And it's this peer, I think back all the time, because I was going to a girlfriend's house across on the other side of the South Side. I was like, what if I just would have walked one block over and missed the gang leader sitting on the porch, and how different my life would be, because I did come back that night, spray painting on the wall, and then I came back day after day to eventually on the same street look at my crime.
Wow, that's crazy. I want to switch gears a little bit, and I listened to some of your interviews before. I think it was with Lake Effect, and you talked about how you were giving credit to your supervisor agent when you got out because she allowed you time to breathe, and it wasn't something that you had to like. But you still spoke about something. You said that the day that you got out was probably the worst day for you because there was so much pressure. So kind of speak about that whole dynamic of getting out of prison, being happy that you're out of prison, but still having that pressure kind of attached to it.
Correct. I mean, at the end of the day, when you go into the adult prison system at 15 and spend a quarter of a century, you're gonna fill your toolbox with some things that makes it difficult to navigate life as a free person. And even though freedom was the most crucial thing that I wanted, not understanding what that was like, that day that I was released, there was such a pressure in my chest because it's, yes, what I wanted, like winning the lottery for normal people, but all the emotional elements that came along with that, my body didn't know how to process. So I remember being in my grandmother's kitchen that night, chest pretty much on fire, and yes, I'm happy to be out, But and it is hard to verbalize what I mean by that. But it was such an uncomfortable feeling because there were so many emotions that were flooding my body. And to the agent, my PO, yes, I was blessed. And so many people have negative reactions to their PO,
Right.
and I can't take anything away from their experiences. But mine, she'd been in the department for many years. My case had sat on her desk because the way it works, every time a PO comes into the department, they get a caseload. And you start with your case being in the prison system. So she never talked to me,
Right.
but my case came onto her caseload and sat essentially for 20 years, or however many years it was before I got out. And so she saw the updates in me and the changes in me, so she knew a little bit about me. And she had the wherewithal to say, okay, here's this kid who's not spent a second as an adult. I had savings, I had a house, I had a car, thankfully. And she was like, just breathe. I'm not going to force you to get a job because it's what so many POs do. And for some people, that is what's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But I just needed to learn, like, what is the internet? It's just so many things people take for granted. Like, the thing that would get me most is walking into a bathroom and electric soap dispensers.
Wow.
To the point where I'd be in different bathrooms where it's not an electric soap dispenser, I'm waving my hand, and they're like, and somebody's looking at me crazy, like, what are you doing? I'm like, isn't this how they work now? And it's like kind of a stupid side story, but yeah, you just have to understand what life is.
At what point did you have, and I know that you are founder, right, of Paradigm Shift?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I love that title.
Mm-hmm.
Because, having a paradigm shift, that's that foundational, inward shift that causes you to look at things much differently than you have. At what point did that paradigm shift occur in you? I'm assuming that it was when you were in prison. Is that correct? At what point in there did that happen? And you said, you know what? Not only was what I was doing before I came in wrong or lead me down a wrong path, but I want to also do something else to help others. Or is that two separate things that happened at two different times?
No, it was born out of the same time period. And essentially it was a 4-year stint in solitary confinement in a supermax prison where, life, all of us today, just driving here, I had to face, hundreds of decisions, whether to stop at this red light or how fast to go, what I want to wear. We're in prison in solitary confinement, like the decisions are very few. And when you strip away all the distraction, you really have a chance to verbally look in the mirror. And that's what I've been running from for quite a few years. I was about 18 or 19 at the time and getting into so much trouble inside, which is why I was in solitary confinement and a supermax prison. And once I had all those distractions stripped away, I was able to kind of see like what are you even doing? Like, this isn't who you were raised to be.
Right.
And it was like that sort of God found me in my worst moment. Because I always hate when people say I found God in prison. And it's the exact opposite. God finds you in your worst moments sometimes. And that's what it found me.
Great.
That's awesome. I'm gonna pull up this scripture because when I knew that we were getting ready to interview you, a scripture just kind of popped to my mind, and it comes from Hebrews 13 verse 3, and it says, "Continue to remember those in prison as if you were together with them in prison, and those who are mistreated as if you yourself were suffering." And it really seems like you have taken on that role of remembering those in prison and understanding that it's tough. Like you say, you don't excuse what they did, right? You hold them accountable, and you understand, okay, yes, you made a mistake, but now how can I be there for you and help you re-enter into society, and make sure that you're given all the resources that you need in order to be successful. Just speak about why that was so important for you to be that big role and play that big role to help people come back into society.
Yeah, it's really of a matter. It's an interesting way to describe it because a lot of times people will ask me like, "What do you do? Like, where's your heart?" Because I do wear a lot of hats, and at the end of the day, I'll tell them like I'm in the business of preventing tears from falling and from victims from being created. What I mean by that is, yes, I include myself first and foremost. My actions necessitated a life sentence at the age of 15. A lot of people in prison, if not most, same thing, deserve to be separated from society. but we know, at least statistically, 95% of the people that are inside come out. And so when we get to a community safe standpoint, nobody wants to live in a dangerous neighborhood. And so I don't want to excuse anybody's actions, but if we're not giving those that have made bad decisions an opportunity to make another decision, we're going to be in this cycle of scratching our head wondering why they made another bad decision, why they created another victim.
Yep.
And people look at it as soft on crime, but it's not. It's two separate things, and you have to find a way to remove the emotion from it and look at it logically and tangibly and say, okay, hey, some people were dealt a bad hand. Again, not an excuse. Separation needs to happen. But if we are going to, we either have to lock people up for the rest of their lives, because if that's what you believe and want to do, fine. I understand that. That's at least logical. Doesn't make sense. It's not very humane, but at least I get it. But if you don't subscribe to that and you're subscribing to letting people out at some point, which 95% of the people do, if we don't give them an opportunity to lead a non-criminal lifestyle, we can't expect them not to make the same decision. So it's really about making our community safer, just looking at it from a different lens.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was great verse that you read there.
Yeah, and I had just to kind of like follow up with that. We had an interaction yesterday at Juneteenth with this man, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. He came over to us. He started talking about, you know, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be the first felon to be a police officer, like to apply and everything like that. And there's a lot that he said in there, but there was a feeling that I got from him while he was speaking, and that was a feeling of hopelessness, of a feeling like, you know, people don't care about hearing a voice of a felon. And he, just from him speaking, I was just like, man, I see that passion. I can see that, like, you know, kind of breathing through him. Do you think that us as a society, we have dropped the ball in giving those people who are re-entering to society and giving those felons an opportunity to actually hear their voice?
It's a very appropriate conversation for a lot of what's going on in my life. I was at Juneteenth yesterday, and at the press conference, there was a theme, and that's get out and vote. And anywhere you go, get out and vote, get out and vote. And I want you to think about this for a second, why that's important, right? Because you want your voice to matter, to count. Well, for me, I went to prison before the age of 18, so I couldn't vote. I'm serving a life sentence, so I can never vote. So you want me to subscribe to a society where I don't have a voice? And just really think about what that means. So if you have a politician that comes and believes in the exact opposite of every single thing I believe in as a human, I can't do anything about it because I can't vote for the other candidate.
Right.
And so you want us to subscribe to this way of life, but we don't have a voice. You want to make us pay taxes, and we have to suffer all the negative things, but I can't, at least via a vote, count. And so it's hard sometimes for a lot of individuals to be like, man, heck with y'all. Like, my voice doesn't count anyways. And so we talk about America being the land of second chances. And I do agree to an extent, but a lot of times you'll see on these job applications, you know, you got to check the box. And then it gets complicated. People think, oh, just ban the box. Well, if you ban the box, then people find other ways to discriminate. So it's not as simple as just banning the box of, do you have a felony conviction? You can't live in certain areas because of a felony. So the only place you can live is exactly where you came from. And so when you step out here,
really?
Correct. Yeah, because those are the only places that'll rent to you. And usually they're high crime areas, liquor store here. And when you leave your house, you're seeing exactly what you've always seen. It's kind of like liken it to a cold sore of the soul. Like you're embarrassed. Like you're inundated with shame. You don't even necessarily realize it. So why subscribe to something else when you feel this is all that you're able to subscribe to?
Yeah. You know, it's easy for us. Well, it's easy for some of us to have compassion and empathy towards another person when you see them as in your eyes, you're thinking, well, they're not problematic, right? You know, they just have fallen on hard times. And so we will assist them, right? And now when you're faced to assist or help those whom your perception is that they caused this themselves, you know, this is something that they're doing. You know, why should I help them? And that's especially, I can't speak for, of course, all law enforcement, and I never will, but in the law enforcement profession, it's like this, our job is to keep communities safe. So we have to arrest. That person goes to court and they get whatever sentence, no matter if you find it a just sentence or not. Now they have to go and serve their time. But there's something about all of us as human beings that when we look at another person, we have to look at them through eyes of compassion and giving them the opportunity to right whatever wrong. That's just my, that's my feeling. It's a whole bunch of people feel it too, but it's like kind of, what is it? There, by the grace of God, go I.
Yeah.
And that's with everybody. Whether it's a homeless person holding a sign on the median, no matter whether you think they're, scamming or not, whether they got money or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that all aspects of society and the community, when you have a person that has gone in a way that's defeating their connection to their higher self, I think we as human species owe it to try to give individuals the opportunity, no matter how you may do it, whether it's the reentry program, or those who have suffered from mental illness, or again, like those who are homeless, because you never know anyone's story, and so we have to give them that opportunity. What are the challenges that you see that what are the challenges you have faced when it comes to being in this space and helping those that you're trying to assist with getting jobs, getting housing, just staying on the right side of things out there in the community? What challenges have you seen in your face?
So to answer that, I kind of have to answer in a couple of different buckets. So as the director of Partners in Hope, just as a reentry service provider, I see all the different issues. And then there's a kind of a space within that I focus on, and that's sort of the building bridges with law enforcement. So I'll focus on the first, and then I'll address the second. So just generally, there's a lack of coordination with resources, and so there's a lot of good stuff happening out in Milwaukee, a lot of people who want to help, a lot of good nonprofits, but nobody knows that they exist. And so finding a way to coordinate that so that John Doe who gets out knows, okay, Social Security office is here, get a bank account here. If you don't have a car, it's tough, so we've been working on trying to bring all those resources together, and that's what we do at Home to Stay. And like last month we had 47 different organizations come in and provide support from housing to driver's license recovery to child support, whatever, because we want to make it accessible. And the number one issue, I would say, the elephant in the room issue is mental health and trauma, because in my opinion, people just don't become criminals, they're not born criminals, something happens along the way. It doesn't justify it, but if we don't address it, it's akin to curing cancer with Band-Aids. And
no doubt,
like, without addressing the mental health aspect, like we can give you all the reentry organizations, give you a bank account, give you the best paying job. If we're not addressing that trauma, we're going to be back at a bad point at some point. And so, and then right below that, I would say housing, because if you don't have a safe place to rest your head, we can give you a free education, we can give you whatever it is. And I bring up education because Marquette, they offer free courses to former incarcerated, which is great.
That's awesome.
But what they're finding is people are dropping like flies because they don't have a place to lay their head. So like, how well could you study on a test if you don't know where you're going to sleep tonight, especially in winter in Wisconsin?
Right.
That comes secondary. So they're finding that they have to provide wraparound services, and they are, and they're doing a wonderful job. But I think they underestimated the value of like, housing and how important that is, which seemingly, we all kind of take it for granted sometimes. Like, I want a safe space to lay my head. And then there's just a kind of like a level of different barriers that are faced. So just trying to find those. I do feel society is getting better. I think COVID has helped the reentry population because so many people don't know where all the people who worked went, but it's created a whole bunch of jobs where now employers are banging on the wall. So hey, we don't care if they have a criminal record. Will they show up on Monday? Because nobody wants to work. So COVID coincidentally has helped the reentry population job market more than anything. The challenge on the building bridges with law enforcement, because that's what separates us at Partners in Hope. And there's a psychology behind, like why do we even care about bringing police officers and the former incarcerated together? We can get into that in a minute. But I get so much flack from my own space. like, man, you're working with the police, you're working with POs, like, man, we ain't trying to hear what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's unfortunate, like I'm sure similar to you guys getting flack from your own community
Yeah.
on being on that side. Well, I get the same, but different on this side from formerly incarcerated or currently incarcerated, because you can never, man, it's us against them, and it will always be that way. And for you to try to build that bridge, we're gonna now look at you less than. And so it's frustrating because we do see results that you don't see anywhere else by the combination of working together with both POs and police officers. So
Wow, this is an amazing episode. We gotta do a part 2 of this. I'm already calling out here right now. We gotta do a part 2 of this because there's so much more that we could have touched, and I think that we need to touch. But I just want to say again, thank you to our listeners out there, and to our people out there who've been, if you're going through something, if you're dealing with something, if you're kind of in a tough situation right now, just don't lose hope. Continue to persevere, continue to fight through, and honestly, just continue to put your faith and your trust in God and lean on Him. And I think everything will work out the way that He wants it to work out.
Yeah, a couple of things real quick. Well, 3 real quick things. Thank you for what you do for being a blessing out there to others. Second, name of your book that's published out there. What is the name?
Anatomizing the gang culture.
Yes, and it's out there and people can
Yes, just
get
type my name into Amazon.
Great. Third thing, the programs that you find important. Where can people reach you? Your meetings?
thecommunitywarehouse.org. That's where we really try to shift perspectives and start working together. So please look us up, thecommunitywarehouse.org, and then Partners in Hope.
Great. Excellent.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys out there.
Thank you, listeners. Be blessed. We'll talk to you next
Yep. God bless.